You ever hear of a man named Joe Metheny? Most folks haven't, but if they have, it's because of one thing: the burgers. He was this huge guy from Baltimore, nicknamed Tiny, which is about as ironic as it gets. He weighed over 450 pounds and carried a reputation a lot heavier than that. Now, Joe claimed he killed 13 people, but here's the part that sticks in people's heads. He said he ground up human flesh, mixed it with pork, and served it to strangers at a roadside barbecue stand. Imagine just pulling off the highway, grabbing a sandwich, and never knowing what was inside. That's the stuff of horror movies. But here's the twist. Nobody could ever prove it. No DNA, no recovered meat, no horrified customers stepping forward, just Joe's word. So the big question is, was it true? Or was it one more story he spun to make himself unforgettable? Let's backtrack. Joe was born in Baltimore in 1955. 6 kids in the family. His dad was an alcoholic who died in a car crash when Joe was 6. His mom worked herself to the bone, waitressing, bartending, cooking, doing whatever she could to keep food on the table. Joe grew up feeling abandoned, and he never forgave that feeling. Later, he told people horror stories about his childhood. You know, the usual stuff like neglect, abuse, living on the streets. But his mom denied most of it. But even if his version wasn't entirely true, the rage inside was real. Joe grew up into a big angry man. He joined the military. He told people that he went to Vietnam. He'd spin war stories about the things he saw there. But he never even saw combat. He wasn't even sent to Asia. He was stationed in Germany. That right there tells you a lot about him. Joe didn't just lie. He rewrote his entire life. He wanted to sound dangerous, legendary. By the early 90s, he was deep into addiction, bouncing between jobs, living in homeless camps, and under bridges. That's when his breaking point came. His girlfriend left him, took their 6-year-old son, and just disappeared. And Joe, who was already furious at the world, snapped. Now, Joe convinced himself she was hiding with the other addicts under the Hanover Street Bridge there in Baltimore. So he went down there looking for her. When she wasn't there, he turned his rage on the men who were. 2 guys named Randall Brewer and Randy Piker. He killed them with an axe, just because they were there. Police arrested him, but with no evidence, he walked free. Later, he bragged about it because that's the kind of man Joe was. He didn't just kill, he confessed like he was telling ghost stories, trying to scare anyone who would listen. And that became his pattern. His victims weren't random. They were people society had already discarded. Sex workers, addicts, people living in the shadows. Like we saw back on episode 1 of Pee Wee Gaskins, Joe picked people he thought nobody would come looking for. But Joe's ego got the better of him because one woman lived to tell the tale. Her name was Rita Kemper. December 8, 1996, Joe lured her to his trailer with the promise of drugs. Once she was inside, things turned violent fast. He beat her, tried to rape her, and told her straight out, "I'm going to kill you and bury you in the woods with the other girls." But Rita wasn't going to be another name on his list. She fought back, she broke free, and she escaped barefoot and bleeding out into the cold. She found the police, told them what happened, and that was it. Joe's whole story started to unravel. When the cops brought him in, he didn't even deny a thing. He confessed. Calm, almost proud. He told them about Kathy Ann Magaziner, a 39-year-old woman he strangled back in 94 and buried behind the pallet factory where he worked. Months later, he admitted, he dug up her body and tossed her skull in the trash. Then he told them about Kimberly Spicer, a 26-year-old he killed in 96, hiding her body under a trailer right near his own. And then he gave them his most infamous confession. He said after killing Magaziner and Spicer, cut up the bodies, stored the meat in Tupperware, froze it, and served it mixed with pork at a roadside barbecue stand. His words were, the human body tastes very similar to pork. If you mix it together, no one can tell the difference. Now think about that. That one line, whether it was true or not, turned him into the cannibal. It was front page news, but again, no proof. No human meat found, no customer sickened, no evidence, just Joe's word. So what was he doing? He was controlling the story. By spinning the cannibal tale, he made himself larger than life. Something people would whisper about for decades. He didn't just want to kill, he wanted to be remembered. And he got what he wanted. The headlines buried the names of the victims under the weight of the cannibal myth. Kathy Ann Magaziner, Kimberly Spicer, Randall Brewer, Randy Piker, and survivor Rita Kemper, who fought back, who cracked the facade, who lived. Their stories got overshadowed by a roadside barbecue story that may have never even happened. In 1998, Joe pled guilty to Magaziner's murder and was sentenced to death. On appeal, it was overturned. His sentence became life without parole, and that's how he stayed until August 5th of 2017, when guards found him dead in his prison cell. 62 years old, no foul play, just gone. So here's the eerie part. Joe Metheny wanted to be a monster. He wanted people to think of him every time they bit into a pulled pork sandwich on the side of the road. And in a way, he got exactly what he wanted. People don't forget the cannibal. They forget Kathy, they forget Kimberly, they forget Randall and Randy. But we don't. Not tonight. Now, I know that this episode was shorter than most of my episodes, but I kind of wanted to do something a little different with this, kind of make it like a campfire story with facts. But sometimes I find that the shorter podcast episodes keep your attention better than the longer ones, because you know how you kind of like just space out or whatever, or I know I do. But anyway, thank y'all for joining me tonight on episode 4 of Breadcrumbs and Bloodshed. Have a good night.